All right, Marco, thank you for joining us. Thank you for being our guinea pig on this brand new segment. Not even sure what we're going to call it yet, but the purpose of this is to connect with the poker community and go over in detail and go a little bit deeper on some hands that you guys are playing and get some deeper reflection and just really help you guys out in your journeys and give back a little bit to the poker community. Thank you for joining us.
I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you for having me.
Give
Great.
us a
Looking forward
little.
to it.
Yeah, give us a little intro about you. Who are
All
you?
right.
Where are you
So,
from?
yeah, my name is Marco Carrera. I'm from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. I've been playing poker since '05 for a living. And yeah, just kind of a pretty much even split of live and online. 46 years old and still loving the grind every day.
Hmm. Cool. And then what limits are you playing?
Uh, I'm comfortable playing pretty much, up to 10 and a quarter, even 25.50. I'd have a comfortable time playing in a game like that. But we're a smaller city here, so our games mainly are 2-5, 5-5, 2-5-10 kind of stuff like that. And then obviously we have smaller games, 1-2, 1-3, which I don't play those very often, if often at all.
All right, great. Well, thank you. So you have that you um, a hand that you feel you misplayed or a hand that maybe brought up some stuff for you. Do you have a hand for us?
Yeah, it's not. I don't think it's necessarily a hand that I potentially misplayed, but it was a hand that brought a lot of negative emotions, which is something that I struggle like greatly with throughout my career, where I lose a hand, uh, the outcome isn't what I wanted and what I expected, and then it can just kind of eat me inside for 5, 10, maybe a whole session, if things don't kind of turn around for me. So yeah, do you want me to just go into the hand?
Yeah, well, so first I wanted to ask, yeah, and you kind of just dove into it, but what didn't work for you in the hand from your perspective?
So, I wouldn't change anything of what I did. I would love to be able to change the outcome, but obviously that's not possible. Could I change the way I felt inside after the hand? That's kind of why I'm here and hoping that, potentially something that can help me down the road.
Got it. Did you have any thoughts or internal voices or like when the pot was getting shipped to your opponent, what was some of the things that were coming up for you internally?
What I've struggled with over my life would be like oh man, there's another bad beat and why am I so unlucky and blah 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 and all these like, woe is me type feelings and emotions and I'm not more unlucky than the next guy or this guy. Like I mean, our luck in my opinion is, should all even out. So there's no reason for me to feel like the world's against me when I'm watching that pot go his way. But I'm sure as people out there can relate in the poker community, you lose a hand here, you lose a hand there, that scar tissue builds up, and it's very easy to think that this stuff only happens to you, right? When we see it happen to people at our games, and you're going to see it in your next game happen to someone else, right? So it's part of what we do. Um, I believe that if you can deal with that to the best of, I guess, of your ability, or that's probably it's almost equally as important as being fundamentally sound in poker, right? Because if you can detach from that hand and move on to the next one and play the next hand properly, you're just going to create positive things for you long term.
Yeah, so I'm hearing two things. One, I'm hearing that you weren't very happy with the outcome. The outcome didn't make you feel very good. And but you also understand that you can't control the outcome. So you have this number one, I don't really feel very good about the way this hand played out. But consciously, I know that I should be grateful and I know that things are working out for me and all that stuff. So I'm hearing this like kind of two things pulling in opposite directions. One is the negative emotion of the hand that this didn't work out the way I wanted to, and I don't feel good. And then also you have the consciously, okay, well, I'm grateful. I'm going to try to shake it off. And this is something that is very common in the poker world, is that these things build up, and you call it scar tissue, right? So these things, these hands over and over and over again, even though we consciously try to let them go, without doing deep release work, this stuff just builds up, you know? Other thing I was hearing was the woe is me as you described it. So yeah, the poor me, things aren't working out the way I wanted to, which is ultimately a reflection of a deeper belief. If you go a little bit deeper, what is the belief that is the reflection of that reaction to your circumstances?
Like that reflection of feeling the need to kind of validate your self-worth by results. I don't know if that I don't know if that is like positive EV for anyone,
Mhm.
right? I don't think that that's how we should be measuring our self-worth, just because, you won a big poker hand or you shipped a tournament or whatever the case may be. So trying to detach myself from those emotions, uh, of losing a big hand is kind of where I'm striving to I guess to be just to improve and be better as a player.
Mhm. Yeah, and we'll get to the hand here in a second, but there is a purpose for them, obviously, because otherwise they wouldn't exist, right? But the purpose is that there's a payoff, and this is very common all throughout the poker world, is that um, this payoff of being a victim. We use poker, and I'm guilty of this also, to both feel good about ourselves and feel bad about ourselves, right? So when the results go our way, when we prepare and everything works out for us and everything goes our way, then it's like, great, I'm worthy of feeling good and I feel good about myself. And then the opposite end of the spectrum is when things don't go our way, we use poker as a way to beat up on ourselves. I should have prepared more. I should have studied more. I should have played this hand differently. Uh, Look at this guy who's winning this tournament. How come he's so lucky? And then we're comparing ourselves to someone else who's on a different journey as and using it as a way to reflect on ourselves and be like, well, I'm a piece of shit, or I fucked up, or I'm not good enough, or whatever.
Okay, so it's just the kind of silly home game hand, right? That like you don't really see all the time, but we're 2,200 effective to start the hand. It's a 2 5 $10 straddles on. There's uh two limps. I go 60, and I get the blind and one of the blinds and one of the limpers to come along. And
And what was your hand?
I have ace king off
And you guys are 2,200 effective. And then
with the main villain.
give me your assessment of pre-flop. Any brief knowledge of the opponents, and then
Yeah. So
yeah, then the part two of the question was going to be like, what did you feel from them in terms of connection? Did you feel that either of them was, did you feel they were more like energized, connected and settled, or they were more like deflated, distracted, flat and disconnected?
we went three-handed. So one was obviously a very recreational player who doesn't put in a ton of time at the table, and he's the main villain. Um, the other gentleman in the hand was a solid player. Uh, and when when we see the flop, the main villain, he 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 was definitely was energized. Uh, he was without a doubt connected to the flop,
Mhm.
um, and hence why he led for 500 into a $190 pot or whatever it was on
And you're
the
saying
eighth
this
nine
was,
deuce.
and so from pre-flop to flop, he became more energized and more connected.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, he was definitely, I guess a little giddy and kind of like looked like he was happy with the flop.
Okay, happy. Got it.
So we got one fold and it's on me, and now I'm sitting here, and all I'm thinking is, well, I'm never calling here. I'm just gonna pile in the money if I'm continuing with the hand. And so I tanked for a little bit, and he was engaging and showing me the ace, and I don't have is telling me that I don't have this card and I don't have that card, and after a minute and a half or so, I was like, just kind of trying to really gauge what he was doing. I moved all in, and he didn't take long, and he's like, I call.
And did you say what the flop was? Ace nine deuce?
Yeah, yeah, ace nine deuce, yeah,
Ace nine deuce and rainbow flop.
rainbow, yeah.
What was your decision point between flatting the flop and raising, jamming? Why did you decide to jam?
I like the specific player. I don't think is ever folding. Ace jack, ace 10, ace queen, whatever in that spot. So I felt like I'm just going to pile in as much money as I can here, uh, and the money's going in. So if I think I have the best hand, I just feel why not do that. And the last thing I wanted to do was, not that there's really any scare cards on that flop to come, but just in case he all of a sudden kind of got cold feet and thought, shoot, like, do I really want to, do I want to put my last 1,700 once he called 15,
Mhm.
or once I called 500 in case he does have a worse ace. So I went with it, and yeah, it didn't take too long before calling.
Yeah, I like that. We when you're seeing he's excited and connected. So his heart rate's up, his breath rate's up, he's engaged, he's attached to the pot. I mean, when we know we have the best hand, that's when we want to put the money in. So I like that. And like as you said, um, there's not really scare cards that can come, but there is a chance that he could become somehow more emotionally detached. Like he could get himself out of fight mode somehow because different thoughts come up for us at different times. So something might come on the turn that spooks him, and then all of a sudden he gets gun shy or whatever. So I like that. When he's excited and connected, then we get the money in. And
Yeah, which is
so,
exactly what we did. Yeah, and he tables ace eight.
mhm. And you're
So pretty good
excited.
spot. Yeah,
You're
yeah,
elated.
yeah,
And
100%. Yeah,
then what happens?
eight on the turn, and I just I just watch him ship this really nice pot, and yeah, I don't get there on the river. So
So what in that moment, if you could pinpoint it, what did you need in that moment emotionally? What did you need most in that moment that would have allowed you to shift from the icky woe is me feeling into a more empowered state that you're looking for?
you know what, I'm not even sure. You know, I can. And I do a lot where I tell myself how blessed I am, how grateful I am to be able you know to lose hands like that, and it literally makes no difference in my life. I'm comfortable playing the stakes I play, so one bad session or one bad beat is literally irrelevant to me, right? Just the same way as winning one big pot is irrelevant to me. It's not gonna, you know, I'm not gonna eat better or pay a bill that I have unpaid because my life is set up in a really nice way. Um, and it's all thanks to poker,
Hmm.
right? So just trying to, my like ultra competitive nature is what kind of, I never liked losing, in any sport I played, right? Like it just drove me nuts. So I kind of feel like, in that moment that, that I'm a loser, right? That I'm not good enough, or that, that there's a lot of things that just kind of affects my self-worth in the moment, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And so what is it that you think you need in that moment?
I don't even really know.
Do you have kids?
I don't know.
No kids. So imagine if you had a son or daughter and they were going through something like that where they were playing basketball and they had whatever they lost at a buzzer beater or something like that. I mean, 5-year-old kid's not really gonna be a buzzer beater basketball game, but you know, so they come home from school, they have a bad day or whatever, they feel somehow they end up they're feeling like a loser. What do you perceive that they need, or what would you say to them to give them what they need in that moment to feel complete?
Well, they need to, they probably need, a child especially probably needs this to feel that, they have their parents there, that they're loved, that they are good enough, that, uh, it's okay, right? There's probably a lot of just like compassion and comforting that perhaps goes to making them feel better.
Yeah, ultimately, a lot of what you were saying in terms of like, well, I get to be grateful and I get to, I know that I'm like all those kind of adult conversations that you're having when the hand played out the way it did, right? Like, well, I know that I'm supposed to be grateful and I know that things are working out and I know that like, yeah, okay, the fish has to win sometimes. Like those are really logical adult things. So it's really kind of like emotional bypass in the moment. And ultimately, like the little version of us who shows up in that moment who doesn't feel good enough, who feels like a loser, who feels like they felt when they were a kid going through something and they had a bad experience and they felt like a loser, that as you're saying, they just really want acknowledgement. They want love. They want to know that they're enough regardless of how they perform, that like ultimately just doing their best is enough. And so when we go through those things at the table, and this is what I practice also, is that when we have a hand and emotions like this come up, we get to number one, embrace whatever's coming up because we tend to go around them. Oh, I don't want to feel this shitty feeling because if I feel the shitty feeling, then I'm going to sit in the shitty feeling. So we try to bypass it, but as you said, it stays there, and we build the scar tissue, right? And then next thing you know, it's bigger and bigger and bigger, and then we blow up, or we play it safe, or do whatever. So ultimately, not acknowledging it or trying to go around it doesn't work. So acknowledging whatever's coming up, like, man, this doesn't feel good, and I do feel like a loser right now. And then looking within and saying like, hey, like Marco, David, I love you. You did great. You played the hand the best you could. It works out like this sometimes. This is life. And um, ultimately, you're worthy of love and you're loved no matter how the results turn out, always. And just hearing something like that in the moment can just be like, for me, it's just like, whew, all right. Like, it just, that feels good, right? Because then that's how we transmute the energy. We transmute it from like, I don't want to feel this and this feels shitty and I feel like a loser to, all right, it's going to be all right. It's okay. And then then we actually feel good and then we can get back to playing poker. Now it's playing fun because we've taken all the pressure off of I have to perform, I have to get this money back, I have to prove things, whatever. All that goes out the window and we just get to play because whatever happens doesn't matter.
Fair enough. Yeah. It's, I have always had that struggle with, just you lose that hand, the results, like they really don't matter at the end of the day. Once you're playing within a comfortable bankroll, I mean, the results really, in my mind, are just secondary.
Yeah, I just want to bring awareness to you said a couple times that you're very competitive. So notice how that you have one voice that's saying the results don't really matter, but then you have this other voice that's saying like I'm competitive, I want to win, the results really do matter, right? So you have these
Kind of conflicting.
two, yeah, like one side would be like, yeah, I know results don't matter because ultimately in the long run I'm going to win or whatever, but then when you get down to this one hand and you get it three outed, then all of a sudden the results really do matter. The logical conversation is results don't matter because in the long run I'm making money and I'm okay and everything like that. But to the emotional body, results very much do matter, right? Because the emotional one is the one, the child, the younger self in the game who's like, damn, that did not feel good. But then the logical self tries to logic around it, but the child still feels what he feels. The younger version of us still feels it. So that's why the emotional acknowledgement is something that's sorely missed in the poker world, and it's just kind of it's completely ignored. and we think that we can logic our way around it. It just doesn't work that way. So let me ask to wrap this up, what when this happens to you in the future, when you get three outed, how are you going to handle it going forward? What things will you do differently in terms of choosing thoughts, feelings, emotions, and then and reframing what's happening in the moment? What will you choose differently going forward?
I think the first and most important one is as soon as the hand is, shipped to my opponent, it's is to try and immediately like like stop that like influx of negative feelings of negative self-worth and oh man, I just lost this hand, I lost that hand. So just trying to stop that right then and there, right? Just trying to really detach myself from any self-deprecating, I guess, negative, talk in my head, right?
Awesome. Yeah, I'm hearing two things. Um, and it's actually, I want to make a quick reframe for you, because the thoughts we can't really stop. Like the thoughts are going to come no matter what. So it's really more about like embracing them than stopping them. So now that, we've had this conversation and now that you see the deeper reflection, when those thoughts come up of things aren't working out for me, woe is me, poor me, things nothing work out, whatever. Um, it's just now realizing like, oh, okay, here's this familiar thought pattern that's telling me, wants me to feel like a loser, wants me to feel not good enough, wants me to feel like nothing's working out. And then I would invite you to, in the moment, ask yourself what you need. Like, what do I need right now? And it's going to be something emotional, typically love, a hug, a visual, virtual hug, reassurance, things are working out, everything's cool, whatever it is. And as you get more practiced in just in those moments asking for what you need, you'll start to learn like, oh, I just need this. And then when you get it, then those thoughts will disappear. And then the second thing I would say is um, before the hand and before the session, really priming your consciousness to understand like, okay, things are going to happen today. Things are going to go my way. Things are not going to go my way. Things are going to work out for me. Things are not going to work out for me. And ultimately, even when they're not working out, they're working out for me. Because in this hand, even though the hand didn't work out for you, it gave you an opportunity to love yourself more than you did before. So every hand, in some way, we can reframe as a win for us. We just, in poker, we tend to attach ourselves to the results and say, well, this didn't work out, therefore I'm a victim, and then we feel bad about ourselves instead of like, wow, this hand gave me the opportunity to love myself even in the face of some really dark stuff that came up, And doing that before the session, like I do that before my sessions. I really prime myself of like, all right, stuff's gonna happen, it's gonna go our way, gonna not go our way, gonna like it's gonna be an emotional journey. And my intention for today is to love myself above all else. And you can set whatever intention you want for the session, but something that's like, I'm going to embrace everything that comes up. I'm going to uh, fully surrender and trust that everything is working out for me, or I'm going to love myself above all else, no matter how the results turn out, or whatever it is. And then that is kind of a nugget that you drop into your consciousness so that when something happens at the table, now you refer back to it and go, oh, that's right. I remember that my intention today was I was going to love myself above all else. And then that's your commitment to yourself because ultimately we can't control the outcomes or the circumstances, but we can control how we react to those circumstances.
Absolutely. I'll keep that in mind. I'll try and I'll pick something at the start of a session when to focus on when, when things aren't going my way and see how that works out, and I'll provide you an update.
Yeah, please do. And thank you for reaching out. Thank you for being the guinea pig and for being open, honest, vulnerable. And this was awesome. Thank you so much.
Hey, it was absolutely my pleasure. I wish you nothing but success moving forward with your channel and your poker career.
Thank you, Marco. You as well.
Thank thank you for taking the time to talk to me, David. You have a great day.
Cheers.